Welcome to Stan Gawel Lofts. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Today's video will be about the VanLoon racing and breeding lofts. I started collecting VanLoons for about 25 years. I had pigeons since I was about 8 years old. Presently, we live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We've been here for about 58 years. Now, when I started collecting the VanLoon pigeons, there was a reason why, because the VanLoon pigeons were outperforming other birds that I had. I had collections of many different species, but the VanLoons were always coming through. So I started collecting about 25 years ago. I started collecting birds from Holland, Urkamp, and then Planet Brothers, Campbell Strange, Charlie Barberi. From Germany, they had really good VanLoons there too. Also, Tony Alves and Mike Gannis went to see Mr. VanLoon in Belgium, and I purchased birds from Tony and Mike Gannis, all the VanLoons I could get. And also Alex Beach from California. He was the agent for Mr. VanLoon in Belgium, and I purchased many birds from Alex Beach when he was the agent for Mr. VanLoon. Finally, I decided to go to the source for the VanLoons, and I called Mr. VanLoon in Belgium. And his English was a little bit hard to understand, but we communicated okay. It was Mr. VanLoon, and then his daughter Anne would come to the telephone, and we talked about pigeons. So I made a big shipment, made arrangements for a big shipment to come to Canada with the VanLoon pigeons from Mr. VanLoon. The problem that we ran into is that Mr. VanLoon had some health problems, and Anne, his daughter, was telling me that he will be going into the hospital. So what I did is I purchased all the birds off his property. So all the birds that basically were left on the property, I purchased all of them. He also mentioned to me that he had no introduction of new birds on his property for 48 years. That he said that the birds are inbred, and they are fast maturing, and they cross very well with any other family of birds. They make excellent crosses. Mr. VanLoon also mentioned, and I had dinner and lunch with his daughter Anne, went to visit her after Mr. VanLoon passed away, and he was not allowed to fly in Belgium. The reason why, he won all the races in Belgium, and he won all the money races in Belgium. So what happened is his friend took him to Holland, and they sent the birds to Holland to fly the races in Holland. And again, his birds dominated all the races in Holland, and he won the races and also the money races, and he was asked to leave Holland, not to fly in Holland with his VanLoon birds. So basically what happened is that you had two countries which did not allow him to fly because he dominated all the races in those countries. And the daughter tells me over dinner that my father was always at home but never in the house. He was always in a pigeon loft. She also mentioned that Mr. Gerald Koopman was just here 2 weeks ago looking at pictures where my father taught Mr. Gerald Koopman how to fly pigeons, and Mr. Gerald Koopman took the VanLoon birds and crossed them to the Jansen birds. So Mr. VanLoon went with Gerald to the Jansen brothers, and they picked up, I think she mentioned 6 birds, and they crossed them to the VanLoon birds and made Gerald Koopman very successful in winning races. My VanLoons, they are pure, direct from Mr. VanLoon. All the fanciers that had the VanLoon pigeons from me around the world were very successful in winning races and money and etc. In the 10-year period that I have these birds, approximately 10 years, I have calls from all around the world advising me that they have won with the VanLoon birds. Either the birds were crossed or they were not crossed. They were pure and they have won races in different parts of the world. Now I'm finding that the fanciers in Europe are looking for VanLoon birds and they were not sure who has the original pure VanLoons. The VanLoons have been now requested by European fanciers to send them back to Europe because they are still working and winning races with the crosses or pure VanLoon crosses. I possibly have the biggest pure collection of VanLoon birds in the world. According to Anne, nobody else, Anne VanLoon's daughter, nobody else has a collection like I do. We presently have over 100 babies off the original VanLoons, which now would be inbred for 40, not 48 years, but 49 years. My friends in the United States, Canada, England, Poland, China, etc. have many VanLoons and they fly them straight and cross and they have terrific results. They even send me the race records with the winnings that they have. It is an unbelievable family. The VanLoon birds are great for one loft races because they are fast maturing. When I was in Europe, they mentioned that the VanLoon pigeons are more like gypsies. As soon as they are born, they know where the food is, they know where the water is, they never get fat, they eat a couple of seeds, they fly up to their perch, and etc. And they are very good. I noticed, even myself and other fanciers, when it's headwinds, rain, tough conditions, those would be your first birds that come back. So this is why they're good for one loft races. This is an example of the pure VanLoon cock or pigeon that is direct from Mr. VanLoon. He's an excellent breeder. They're getting up there in age, but they're also still breeding at the age of 12, 13, and some up to 14. So I have looked after them and with vitamins, minerals, everything that they need. And they breed when they're still about 12, 13. Beautiful, beautiful specimens. Here's another sample. This is a hen directly from VanLoon's Loft. We have approximately about 20 some direct from Mr. VanLoon here. Here's another sample of a male cock. Here is another VanLoon bird. This cock has bred a lot of good birds, and a lot of them in Chicago area. For some reason, the guys from Chicago are doing really good with youngsters off this pigeon. There's another pigeon, VanLoon. This hen has youngsters, approximately about 30 of them in Toronto area, where she's producing winners in that area. Toronto, Ontario. Here's another male. It's a cock. He is a fantastic breeder, and this family, you could see Mr. VanLoon holding his father and grandfather, this family of birds, the VanLoons here, have produced really, really good results. This is a hen, a blue hen, and she has also been a very good breeder. She had the bigger eyes on it and a little bit more tame pigeon. Over the years, she must have produced at least 20 youngsters. They're in Calgary, they're in Vancouver, Victoria, also in California from her. Excellent, excellent breeder too. Here's another hen that has been a very good breeder for us. And she also produced winners, Long Island and New York, actually. So a lot of her youngsters are in that area, just off this hen. And for some reason, they're winning out there. Some are flying them pure, some are flying them cross. And this line is working out there by New York area. Okay, and this is another hen direct from VanLoon Loft. She is an excellent hen, had bred us winners in the past, and it's a very good hen. I'm just gonna, soon they all start looking the same, and I noticed that these birds have been inbred for about 48 years, and now that I'm breeding from them together, the youngsters are being bred for about 49 years. So it's a very good collection of pure VanLoons, no crossing. The hallway was built over here to have access to the pigeon lofts, which are on my right-hand side. The heating system runs right down the hallway over here. And so when we built the building, we needed a heating system. So we have our friend, Fred Goodchild. He put in the heating system in here. And in the wintertime, we keep the whole building at approximately 0 so that the water never freezes for the birds. The water always never freezes with that. And the heating system heats up the whole building, and you could actually, if it's outside minus 30, minus 35, you could come here, you could take your jacket off, and you could do cleaning with a t-shirt because it's nice and warm in the building. This whole loft in the summertime has fans running all across, about 110 feet of fans running right across, where the fans will suck up all the dust and any air and etc. and blow it out. Here's a sample of just one here. Basically, it sucks up any plume, anything that we have, so you have fresh air coming in all the time. And it goes all the way down, I think about 110 feet of it. And then behind the wall, when you look at it, you open up the door, and behind it, you have the pigeon lofts behind the doors. so you don't have any droppings, feathers, etc. down the hallway. You have everything behind the wall. So these are my lofts, and I designed them. Easy cleaning, very comfortable for the birds, extremely comfortable. It's a heating system. In winter time, when it's minus 35, the temperature in the loft is around 0. And if the birds want to go outside, they have the aviaries, access to all the aviaries 24/7. I got the ideas from Europe and from United States. It took a long time to design each section for breeders, to make it very convenient for cleaning and feeding. Everything is separated, everything is done professionally, and it took a long time to get these ideas, and then we had to get the blueprints, and then we had the contractors coming in and building the buildings. There's about 230 feet of buildings, and they range between 30 feet wide to 50 feet wide. And so we've got about over 250 feet of pigeon buildings right now. Okay, every section has this type of a table with a drop through. So when the seeds fall through, they drop to the bottom on it so that the seeds are not in the droppings or anything. And underneath each table, in all 7 sections, actually 8 sections there, they have the grits, the vitamins, everything that they need. Every section has that under the table like that for the birds. And it's very convenient because there's no seeds or mess on the floor where the seeds would go into the droppings. None of that happens. Now this is another section. We have 3 sections of pure VanLoons, and here's another section of the pairs of VanLoons that we have. And they have their own boxes and everything in here. And they also have the aviaries. They have access to the aviaries, about 8 feet by 9 feet with drop floors and etc. And I have been breeding from this section here, from these VanLoons, paired them up this year, and we have been breeding from this section at this time. And then next year we'll be breeding from the other section, and next year we'll be breeding from the other section. So there'll be a lot of inbred VanLoons. This is one of the pure VanLoon babies, just to sample what they look like when they're small. And they're fast maturing. They're very fast maturing pigeons compared to any other strain. All the VanLoons have aviaries. Each aviary is about 8 by 10, approximately 8 by 10 feet. So there's a lot of room for the VanLoons. And again, I have 3 sections of these VanLoons, just like this, 3 sections of them in this loft. And they have a drop-through system on the floor. So all the droppings and everything else, they go through. Less cleaning, and it's much easier for me on that. Altogether, we have 7 sections of breeding. So we have Jansons, we have pure Jansons from the Jansen Brothers stuff. We have 7 lofts of different birds for breeding. And now this whole section is individual breeding for the birds. Each section is approximately about 5 feet by 6 feet for individual breeding. So then this way we don't run into any problems with the parentage. So we know who the parents are, the mother, the father, etc. So you go all the way down the hallway with individual breeding sections. And this is for the watering for the outside of the whole building. So we have a cart that we drive through the hallway, and in it we exchange the water. We have hot water, cold water running in the loft, and behind the wall is where the waters are. And the birds have the water so they don't overheat. And for the outside of the aviaries right across the whole building, we have a tray that goes underneath. It picks up all the droppings and everything, and it does all the cleaning right underneath the aviary for about 100 feet of it. If you need more information on the VanLoon pigeons, the strain, the races they fly, the results for different people, I could name at least 100 different fanciers that have the VanLoon birds. If you need any more information, you can contact me on the website, email, or my cell number, which will be on the video anytime. I thank you for your time.